All right, hello everyone, and thank you for tuning in once again to the Black Box Podcast, BBOR, Black Box Online Radio. Now, the secondary theme that we've been doing on this channel is covering the upcoming presidential election in 2020, and Senator Amy Klobuchar of Minnesota has announced that she is going to be involved in the upcoming Democratic primary. Now, I can say that there has been quite a bit of mixed reaction to Amy Klobuchar declaring her announcement. And when I say mixed reaction, I mean, like, we've been seeing things all across the spectrum. A lot of people are saying that, yeah, okay, I mean, she seems kind of reasonable. Maybe I would listen to her more. Maybe I'll vote for her. I've even seen a few comments about Republicans saying that they like what she has to say. But a lot of people, and I mean, a lot of the comments that have been left about her are just like, who? Who is she? Who is this lady? I confess, I first heard of Amy Klobuchar in the 2018 Brett Kavanaugh hearings, when, of course, she was questioning Brett Kavanaugh during his confirmation to be on the Supreme Court. And before that, I had never really heard of her. I mean, like, and then, of course, through that, I just learned that she is a senator from Minnesota, and she's actually been there since 2007. I thought she might have been the one who replaced Al Franken, but no. I mean, she's been there since 2007. It's just, I guess she hasn't actually made that much ground on the main stage because it wasn't only me. I insist, a lot of people have really put out the just the idea that were not very familiar with her, but it seems like she's going to try to seek the Democratic nomination. Although, as we're going to be talking about it, I'm not necessarily sure about how big her intention is to win the nomination. It might almost seem like she's just trying to sort of make a name for herself, and there's some reasons we would have to go into that. I was on her website, amyklobuchar.com, and I noticed it wasn't Amy for President 2020.com, it just says amyklobuchar.com. And it very, very skimpy, not much of a detailed platform had been released on the website. And when a lot of candidates declared, like when Andrew Yang declared, I mean, he had this enormous platform that he put out talking about all kinds of issues, not only universal basic income, but also Puerto Rican statehood. And Andrew Yang also had something about the president and the vice president should be making nuclear decisions simultaneously. You should not have one person with all the power of the nuclear codes. You need at least two people to make decisions simultaneously to see what as sort of an added security measure. And before you agree or disagree with Puerto Rican statehood or that statement about the nuclear codes, the Democratic primary is a time for ideas. It's a time for expressing ideas and bringing things to the podium. That's what Andrew Yang was doing. Also, Marianne Williamson, released a very, very detailed platform. I did one upload on her where we talked about, she was talking about $100 billion plan for reparations for African Americans, based on post-slavery reparations given to African Americans, as well as some other things like, I mean, sort of a stuff of healthcare, but it's Marianne Williamson is of course talking about getting to a higher level of morality and understanding. But when you want to talk about something such as healthcare, we're talking about Amy Klobuchar right now. She has not supported Medicare for all in the past. No. And is that going to just completely get her crushed by the other progressives? I mean, like, are the progressives going to be entertaining a candidate that does not support Medicare for all? Because it really seemed like the Democrats were finally coming together, finally sort of agreeing on a plan that they wanted to go for with health care. One of the big criticisms of the Democratic Party was they couldn't get their terminology right. They're all over the country talking about issues. They had no clear leader. Nancy Pelosi is not the leader of the Democratic Party. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is not the leader of the Democratic Party. They had no clear leader, and they're throwing around names like single payer, universal health care, Medicare for all. But they're finally coming together, and they're saying that we all want Medicare for all, except for the fact that not all Democrats want that. Amy Klobuchar did not support Medicare for all in the past. What did she support? Something rather similar to John Delaney's plan, which is public plus private. It's like there would be a public universal health care plan, but you can also buy private insurance. Like so it's like it's public private. It is a universal plan, but you can also buy your own private insurance if you so choose. Now, what is the big difference with this? Well, what John Delaney argues, and I'm sure Amy Klobuchar will argue as well, is that it is much less expensive than Medicare for all. It's like Medicare for all is apparently 32 trillion and this public private plan, which is a universal healthcare plan, is only 13 trillion dollars, so they say. How does that happen? Well, one of the ways that this plan is financed is with co-pays from the people, who are paying into it, from you and me, from the ordinary American citizen who is going to be paying into the plan. But I have no details on that. I mean, like, what exactly do you mean by a copay? Just to give sort of like a hyperbolic example, if they say that your medication is $100 and your copay is $91, I mean, does that really help you at all? I mean, we don't really necessarily know what they're going to meet. I don't know what these details are going to be like when you're talking about this public private universal plan. And furthermore, it means that Amy Klobuchar is not going to be in touch with a lot of progressives. And it means she's definitely going to be moderate on some issues, but she does seem to be a very big champion for things such as climate change, green energy, green jobs. She talked a lot about green jobs, and during her sort of campaign announcement by the Mississippi River in Minnesota in the snowstorm, she talked a lot about climate change, and she was getting shredded by a lot of conservatives and Republicans in the comments section. They were like, "How can you talk about climate change when you're standing in the middle of a blizzard?" I commend Amy Klobuchar for not wearing a hat. I mean, I don't know if I commend that or condemn that. I mean, like, I was like, she should have worn a hat. That looked really cold. But anyway, it's like, I mean, there's a big thing we got to say about that. It's like climate and the weather aren't the same thing, and it's like they're actually saying when the Arctic's getting warmer, it can push down some colder winds toward the United States, and that's why the U.S. had that big cold spell this winter. But anyway, the point is, regardless of what you think about climate change, that is something that is actually more in touch with what the progressives would have to say, something that Amy Klobuchar is supporting, that is more in touch with kind of the wider span of the Democratic Party. Whereas the Medicare for All thing and like supporting public private versus Medicare for All, that's not going to win over a lot of points with other Democrats. I mean, the Bernie camp, the Bernie Sanders supporters are just not going to be listening to that at all. And it really seems like a lot of the candidates in the race are just receiving a lot of backlash for simply not being Bernie Sanders. A lot of the Democrats were playing Bernie or bust, and I mean, when you have people like Amy Klobuchar, like Kirsten Gillibrand, and definitely somebody like John Delaney, these people are just like, we don't want you here. You're just sort of, taking up space in the race. We don't want to listen to you. We don't care what you have to say. You're just filler. I mean, like, that's the way that a lot of the Democrats are viewing them. And of course, the Republicans are absolutely not wanting to hear any of it because they already have their candidate. But does Amy Klobuchar have a realistic chance of winning the Democratic nomination? As of now, I don't. It doesn't seem like it, and I wish she would have released more of a platform on her website, amyklobuchar.com. I had to go onto Wikipedia to sort of look at some of the platform things that she had talked about. What I did notice on her website, amyklobuchar.com, is that she has a very large store. I mean, she put the campaign store out where you can buy buttons and sweatshirts and t-shirts, pay $49.99 for an Amy Klobuchar hoodie. And I was like, you put that stuff out before you put the platform on your website? I mean, I don't really even know what that's going to. I mean, you can take that for what you will, interpret that any way you want. But a big thing to say about this is, I'm almost getting the vibe, and this is purely a vibe, that someone such as Amy Klobuchar is not running to win the nomination. She's not popular enough. She's not even running to bring ideas to the podium. Okay, I mean, you talk about climate change, you talk about green energy, you talked about this universal public-private plan. Lots of people are talking about those things. Is it possible that Amy Klobuchar is running just to simply get her name out there more, to become sort of a more prominent member of the Democratic Party and a more prominent member of the Democratic Senate? People do things like that. I mean, of course, people do things like that. Even if you're not actually trying to become president, you can climb the ranks of the political establishment. And for her, she's just going to get more notoriety. People are going to pay more attention to her. People are going to listen to more of what she has to say. But if that's the case, I wish she would have been kind of expressed some kind of bolder ideas and like more out have a more outgoing platform. I mean, we talked about Marianne Williamson and Andrew Yang and about how they are just, they put out some very, very passionate things that are not really talked about too much. This is the time to do that. This is the Democratic primary. And it's like, I was very critical of John Delaney for not having a bolder platform, a more kind of go for the gold, reach for the stars. I mean, especially somebody like Delaney who declared in 2017 that he wanted to become the president of the United States. But once again, though, I mean, I think John Delaney is just running to have some fun. It was probably a lifelong personal ambition for him, and he just wanted to get on the campaign trail. He wants to do the interviews and uh, have people listen to him talk. Is Amy Klobuchar doing the same thing? Very possible. Very possible that she just wants to do the campaign circuit. And I would really insist, though, someone in her position, it seems like perhaps she just wants to put her name out there to get more notoriety, more recognition, and this could help her in the future climb the ranks of the Democratic establishment. A big thing, though, that she would say that I think kind of puts her apart from some of the other candidates is that she says on her first day in office she would put America back in touch with the Paris Climate Accords, which Donald Trump took America out of. And I confess that's something a little bit different, but at the same time, this is still America, not an election. You don't have to worry about toning down your rhetoric. You have to look at, just go for the flipping goal. Say something. I mean, do something. And, it's like challenge anything that you want. It just this is about kind of being a bold, passionate individual during the primary. It's going to be a very tough race, and I mean, they were really predicting that there were going to be a lot of candidates, and Donald Trump was the first person to say there'll probably be a lot of candidates attacking him for the 2020 general election, and you're going to see so many candidates in the primary, and but Amy Klobuchar would have a very difficult chance at winning this thing. I mean, going up against people like who are more famous than her, such as Kamala Harris and Elizabeth Warren, Tulsi Gabbard, even Kirsten Gillibrand is more famous than Amy Klobuchar. Once again, I said I first found out about her in 2017 during the Brett Kavanaugh hearings, and I mean, some of the Republicans are still attacking her for that. They're saying that she was very rude to Kavanaugh during the hearing, and just they really didn't like her line of questioning about like, have you ever blacked out from drinking? They just thought that was inappropriate, and I mean, not even going to touch that one with a 10-foot pole. But the fact of the matter is, people have not forgotten that, and they're still going after for her for that. Also, they're going after Kamala Harris and maybe Cory Booker, but to be honest, I don't think that many people actually care about Cory Booker. He's almost just sort of very good at being loud, but not really good at getting to people's hearts, if you know what I mean. So when it comes to somebody such as Amy Klobuchar, I would hope that as this campaign goes on, she will take the chance to just really expand the platform, say more things that are going to be. I mean, you might as well just say some genuine things that you believe if you're just trying to get recognition and notoriety. Put yourself out there and just do more than just share little personal stories and anecdotes. And that's a big thing that people were saying though after her campaign announcement, after that after that snowy blizzard campaign announcement, they were just like so many family stories, so many little personal anecdotes. I mean, not enough about the substance, not enough about the platform. I mean, you're talking about, how a family member was a coal miner and such, and how that you learned some life lessons from that. Okay, but you also need to talk about the platform, about the ideas that you're going to be incorporating into the political process, like, and also the vision that you have for America. Because even if, even if you get elected, even if you can become the president of the United States, you're still dealing with a divided Congress. So the big thing that we have to do is we need to find somebody who has a vision, someone who has good foresight, anticipation, as well as someone who is also going to be kind of level headed enough to just make the critical decisions and not make problems worse. And would people want to go with Donald Trump, or would they want to go with someone on the Democratic side? And that's up to the voters, of course. But I mean, Amy Klobuchar spends so much time talking about her personal history and her, like, her personal anecdotes, that people were like, we're not hearing enough about what you would do if you were president. All you're saying is things about your own character, and of course, little things about your family's personal history. But that's not enough to win over voters. And once again, I'm not necessarily sure that Amy Klobuchar is trying to win the nomination. Based on my initial gut feeling, and that is purely a gut reaction, this is more about trying to just gain some notoriety and gain a little bit more recognition so she'll become a more prominent member of the Democratic Party and a more well known senator. Maybe that would help her become president in the future, maybe in 2024 or something like that. I mean, but who knows? We can't really say much about that. A lot of that will depend on what would happen with the 2020 election, and because a Democrat could win or Donald Trump could win re-election. So we'll have to just sort of wait and see. But anyway, Amy Klobuchar, the senator of Minnesota, is now going to be seeking the nomination for the presidency. She's not very well known to the general public, a former prosecutor, as well as senator since 2007 for the state of Minnesota. And it's like she is also somebody who supports gun control reform, universal background checks, which is going to be a hot button issue for many of the Republicans and conservatives. But it's like, I'm not necessarily sure that Amy Klobuchar is even trying to win the nomination, but let's look out. Maybe she'll say some kind of more entertaining things and kind of just put out that bold, passionate platform that's going to actually get her the notoriety that she seems to be trying to achieve. Other than talking about green energy and putting America back in touch with the Paris Climate Accords, that doesn't really sound like we've heard that much from her about being a sort of bold, passionate member of the Democratic Party who wants to be president. And it's kind of bland, to be honest. But we'll see what happens, and we'll see what happens over the course of the next year and a half. And there's a lot to look out for. But anyway, what do you think? If you have anything to say at all about Senator Amy Klobuchar trying to become president of the United States, if you have any comments at all, you can kind of leave something below, and let's talk a little more.